Let me tell you about the Smoky Rose. And the first thing I want to tell you about the Smoky Rose is we will be there tomorrow. Your Dark Companion, a live podcast remote from Smoky Rose tomorrow, the 19th of September. We will be there at 4 o'clock. Live music will come down afterward by Bill Brooks, maybe a sit-in with, I don't know, somebody from the cast around here. But if you don't know about the Smoky Rose, what you do need to know about it is it's a Tex-Mex barbecue joint that is in the heart of their community over in East Dallas. It was established in 2016. They serve meats that are smoked in their wood-burning smoker, low and slow. That is the right way to do this. And it brings out the best flavors. Every item is made with the highest quality ingredients. Every bite is as good as the last. The drinks, let's talk about them. They are made with the special care and vast knowledge of their owner, the great David Cash. They are located in East Dallas, right in the heart of it, right across the street from the Arboretum. They have the perfect seat for you on their patio. They're open year-round. You can enjoy your food and drinks while taking in the beautiful surroundings. They are open for brunch on Sundays. Happy hour is from 3 to 6. It is at 8602 Garland Road in Dallas. Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner? Sports talk. Baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We had a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sale.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Good day to one and all. It's another edition of Your Dark Companion coming your way today. It is the 18th of September in the year 2024. And we're going to wander off the trail a little bit and go down one which we don't go down very much, but I happened to see this documentary called Escape from Extinction, Rewilding. And it has to do with what we're doing to the planet and how what we're doing to it affects everything and everybody else, or all other things. I guess not everybody, but all other things that we share the planet with. It was produced by Matthew Brady, and he joins us right now. Good day, sir.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing this. I really enjoyed your work, and there's a lot to go over here because when you dive into something like this, you see just exactly what is going on. You see just how desperate things are, and you wonder what can be done about this. Now, tell me a little bit about your background and what got you into this.
Well, I have worked in film and television and in some capacity for the last 25 years. And I started out, I was telling the guys earlier, I started out on the ESPY Awards for ESPN. That was a big thing of mine. And also I was doing independent films at the same time. And so I would produce like a low budget independent film. My first kind of notable film was this movie called Dahmer. And we kind of discovered Jeremy Renner. That was the first thing he had done that got some attention. And, now he's winning Oscars.
Dahmer is in Jeff Dahmer, or did I miss that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think I do remember that film.
Yeah.
It was one of the, it did very well for us at the time and for what it was. And so, I continued kind of on the sports path, and I continued on the indie film path. And, but the ESPY Awards was interesting because if you look at these award shows, they always have these pieces of content, whether it's little miniature documentaries or little comedy bits, like the Saturday Night Live style comedy sketches, and then these big kind of glossy openings. So I was doing like the big glossy openings for the award shows and the sports shows. So I produced like Hank Williams' Are You Ready for Some Football? I'm sure you guys know that. that video that played.
I think I've heard that a time or two.
Yeah, a couple people watched that show. And then at the ESPY Awards, we were doing these documentaries, these little documentary stories, like the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage, and we tell these incredible stories of things that were happening in sports. And so my award show kind of resume started to grow. I produced the Golden Globes, and I produced this show called the Hero Dog Awards for the Hallmark Channel. And in Hero Dog, we would tell these incredible documentary stories of animals that have done heroic things. And one of the stories from the first Hero Dog Awards was a blind man, and during 9/11, his dog actually walked him down the 80 flights of stairs at the World Trade Center, and he got out and survived. And he was blind with a seeing eye dog. And so we honored, obviously the gentleman, but also the dog for rescuing him. And what a heroic story. So my client from American Humane, who I was doing that show with, came to me a decade after doing these, and said, we want to do a documentary about what's going on in the zoo and aquarium space and how they're working to save animals from extinction. And so that heavily features the Texas community, stories about Dallas Zoo. And that film was narrated by Dame Helen Mirren. It did very well for us. And so this film came along, this sequel, and we wanted to talk about this concept of rewilding. And then we got Meryl Streep to narrate it, which was incredible.
Yeah.
So we've had some good luck.
Yeah, you have had some good luck. And I believe that I saw the first one last night, the one with Dame Helen Mirren at the helm there. And it's just amazing to see, because we go about our own thing. We're off in our own little world and paying attention to what affects us. And we don't think about these things. We don't think about anything big picture like this. And I will tell you, that kind of yanked me back a little bit, seeing what's going on over there with all these animals in Africa and all the other parts of the planet. And it's eye-opening, shall we say.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway from making that first film is just that people really don't know what they're talking about, but they read one sentence or one thing they click on or a post from someone and think they do, and that can actually do a lot more damage for the animals and the planet than you think. And what we were trying to do is open people's eyes with this and show them the right way to help in conservation and who to listen to the scientists and the people that actually know what they're talking about. And there was a great story in that film just about Dallas Zoo, since you guys are in Texas, and their role in conservation and how it was misconstrued, and something that they were doing that was wonderful to save elephants was actually protested, and how ridiculous that was. And we tried to break down some of these stories and let people know the right way to help animals.
What is rewilding?
Rewilding is this concept that is really interesting. I had heard of it. There was a farm in the UK, and I had heard this couple had taken this old farm and turned it back to the wild. And if you think about it, we have all these beautiful manicured lawns with hundreds and hundreds of acres. People do, not everyone, of course, but it's all mowed and cut down. There's nowhere for animals to go. There's nowhere for anything. So rewilding is basically just letting things go back the way they used to be. So let the grass grow. If you let the grass grow and the weeds grow and things grow that are there, then all of a sudden the insects start to come and have hiding spaces. And then the birds start to come. And then the mammals start to come. And the whole area kind of resets itself and regenerates. And then the animals actually come back as they have a place to go. You think about these big golf courses and stuff like that, which we all love, but where is an animal supposed to go and hide in a golf course? There's nowhere. So that all of that land is taken away. All of the land that's for industrial purposes is taken away. So the animals just really don't have a place to go. But a lot of the land can be rewilded. I just saw a stat, I think yesterday or a week ago, that 25% of Europe can be rewilded. So we do have enough space. We have enough land for us and them, for people and animals, but people but we're not using the land in the best way possible to benefit everybody.
So let me see if I've got this straight. If you have land and you don't do anything at all to it, you just don't touch it, that starts the process of rewilding that land?
That's one way to rewild. Yeah, that's one of our taglines at the end of the movie is if you want to help, do nothing. Just do nothing. Like take a little chunky. I mean, I live in Los Angeles, like nobody has a lawn, but if you happen to be lucky enough to live in a place where you have a lawn, just leave it. Leave some of it. Take a little piece of the backyard, do nothing. Just let it grow and see what happens. That's one way to rewild. But then in the film we talk about, places like Australia where rewilding for them is removed. They have such a huge problem with invasive species, from cats to foxes that are actually destroying all of the local animals and the marsupials. And so for Australia, rewilding is about removing these animals that are attacking their indigenous and killing all their indigenous animals. You look at a place like Colombia that obviously never had hippos because hippos are from Africa, but Pablo Escobar had a couple hippos that escaped and they went into the river, and those 3 hippos have now become 1,000 hippos, and they're actually terrorizing the people of Colombia. The hippos are the world's most dangerous mammal. They kill people, and they're just going down the city streets, and it's a huge problem. They're taking over the habitat for all the native animals. So in Colombia, rewilding is about figuring out how to get these hippos out of there before they destroy all the other animals in that habitat.
I'm kind of a caveman on this stuff. I hear extinction, I think dinosaurs, but I mean in real time, present day, animals are going extinct. This is going on. The same thing that happened back then in those prehistoric times are happening right now, maybe on a little bit smaller scale or whatever, but it is going on.
It's actually happening on a bigger scale right now, believe it or not. We're calling this the 6th mass extinction. Everyone thinks about the big extinction as the dinosaur extinction. So that was actually the 5th one. There were other ones leading up to that in prehistoric time. This is the 6th mass extinction. This is the first one that's been caused by humans, and 1 million species are on the verge of extinction. 1 million. There's extinctions happening every day. Animals are becoming extinct that we haven't even discovered yet because we're just slashing and destroying our forests. So it's incredible what's happening right now. So we really need to make this a focal point. I mean, there's some animals that there's 5 or 6 left, literally 5 or 6 left. There's the vaquita porpoise, which is this adorable little porpoise that swims off the coast of Mexico. And I think there's 10 or 15 of them. So that's an animal that will go extinct because we humans didn't intervene in time. We could have jumped in when there was 1,000 left and done something, and we screwed up, and now there's just a handful left, and I hope to God they don't go extinct, but they'll likely be extinct in a couple of years. And there's so many stories like that where we wait until it's too late. Everybody likes to jump in when there's 10 of something left, but you need to jump in when there's 1,000 of something left and really start a program to get.
And that's a very jarring device that you used in the film, telling us just how few of certain animals there are left. I mean, you see that, you just go, wow, really?
I mean, it seems really obvious when you talk about it, but you'd be surprised. I mean, like, the Mexican wolf, for example, there's a handful of Mexican wolves, like 10 or 12. And so what the zoo and aquarium community, they had to do is they had to go out and capture these Mexican wolves, bring them together and start a breeding program and get the numbers up. So then when the numbers were up, they could start releasing them again. And there's a lot of people that are out there saying, oh, don't go to a zoo, don't go to an aquarium, don't support them. Just leave the animals be, let the animals be alone. Well, you can't have 7 of something in the entire southwest of the United States and expect them to find each other, expect them to not get shot by farmers or by, roadkill from all the freeways and stuff. So if we don't intervene and help get these animals in their numbers up, they're going to be gone. That's just the bottom line. So, the soundbite that always seems very popular, and which is why we made the movie, is like, oh, let animals be, let nature take its course, let it do its own thing. But it's not nature taking its course. We're destroying these animals.
And the role of zoos and these other animal preserves in this situation is very, very vital and very important too. And you know, you go to the zoo and you think you're going to run around and see little kids looking at animals and all that kind of stuff, but there's something far more significant going on here in play.
Yeah, and I think the zoos have done a better job in the last couple of years of promoting what they are doing. But and this really was the first film, which is it's streaming on like Peacock and Amazon Prime and Apple TV and stuff like that. Now it's free on Tubi. But yeah, like people kind of think like there's this equation like, oh, zoos are prisons, or I don't like to go to zoos because the animals are captured. And what they don't understand is all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes. And it is pretty well documented when you are a good zoo now. But, you know, take the California condor, for example. There was 20 left, 20. And so the San Diego Zoo and the LA Zoo collected all of these, put them together, started a breeding program, got the numbers back up. They actually taught them to be afraid of power lines. So they actually taught the baby condors to like not go on power lines because that was a big thing that was killing them. They also lobbied to get the lead out of bullets because they eat carcasses. So they were getting lead poisoning from just their food. And so now the numbers are up, and I think they're close to 1,000 now. And that's because of the zoos and aquariums that were doing this work. And that's not the sexy soundbite. The sexy soundbite is, oh, these animals were kidnapped from the wild and they're put in a prison. Well, they are taken from the wild and they are put in a, you know, cage or, you know, a aviary, but that's to save them and to save the species from extinction and to get the numbers up. So it's about kind of like who you want to listen to. Do you want to listen to, you know, the people that are doing the work and the scientists, or just, you know, a tweet from a celebrity that doesn't really know what they're talking about?
Mm-hmm. As it applies to reforesting, the blue macaw and trees had to be brought back to help them out. Is that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the animals don't have a place to go, so that's the biggest problem. You know, a lot of these animals live in these, you know, these forests that are hundreds of years old. So even if you chop down a forest and you decide like, okay, now we're going to protect this land, it takes 1,000 years for a forest to grow back. I mean, it's not like something that could be done overnight. So there's certain animals that nest in certain types of trees. And so the blue-throated macaw lives in these kind of old dead trees that have hollowed out trunks. That's where they live in. And so there's just not enough of those left. So these animals can't adapt to figure out a new place to live. You know, they can't go live in a bush, and because a bush has grown back, they need these old dead trees. So one of the zoos that we featured in the film, it's called Laurel Park in Tenerife, Spain, and they actually have dedicated their lives to saving parrots and birds from extinction. And they actually would go and build these nest boxes and go and put them up in the trees that are still around. And the nest boxes are similar enough to the old hollow trees that the birds would use those to nest. So the numbers are actually coming up again with these macaws because the zoo was able to figure out like what they needed and how to get it to them.
Wait, I have a quick question. Isn't that what Rio's about? The kids movie?
Yes. Rio is about one of the last few, and I mean, they had this zoo in Spain, Laurel Park. They had four chicks that they were able to bring back to 19, and then when they got 19, they were able to bring them back to Brazil and bring them back into the environment. So yeah, the entire plot of Rio, that's funny because in our first movie we do even have a clip of Rio that we stole or borrowed from the studios to help tell that story, because that story is really true, and it's becoming more and more true. When there's one left of something, there's not much you can do.
Can this really be done, restoring nature? Because really that's kind of what we're talking about here. Can that be done?
Yeah, it's really not that difficult in certain places. You look at a place think about a place like Chernobyl. So a place like Chernobyl was absolutely destroyed, and we've all heard of Chernobyl, and we wouldn't probably go there in a million years because of what went on there. Well, nobody was there, and guess what? Now it's become this incredible animal habitat because the trees grew back there. I mean, if you look at pictures of Chernobyl, you see, there's an amusement park with all these trees and vines and stuff all around it. And that's become a huge habitat for animals because it's a safe space that's been untouched by humans. So it's just about designating land and protecting it and working with the community. The biggest story in our film and the inspiration, Dr. Robin Ganzert is the president of American Humane, and she had been to Rwanda. And, the only thing I had heard about Rwanda was the genocide and horrible stories about Rwanda. And most people in the U.S., I don't think, know anything about Rwanda. But one of the stories that came out of Rwanda is during the genocide where almost 1 million people were killed in a very short amount of time, people left. And when the war was over and Rwanda kind of reset itself, these people came back and they had nowhere to go. There was nowhere to put the refugees, so they went into the national park. And they have a beautiful national park there called Akagera that you would equate to Yellowstone in the U.S. And they cut down the boundaries of this park. And so people came back with their cows and whatever. Well, lions eat cows. So the lions went and killed the cows. The people that were poor, they killed the lions. That's their food. That's their livelihood. The rhino horns there's rhinos there, for thousands of years, for millions of years. Rhinos horns are very valuable to poachers, so they killed all the rhinos. So all of a sudden in Rwanda there was no rhinos. There's no lions left. So when the country started to build back, they reestablished the boundaries of the national park, but now they had no lions and no rhinos. So what they did is they went to the zoos in Europe, and the zoos in Europe gave them back rhinos and lions to repopulate. And they did it, and it worked, and it's a success. And now there are rhinos in Rwanda again. There are lions in Rwanda again, and these people who were destitute from the genocide are now working at conservation. They're working as tour guides. They're working at hotels that cater to environmental tourism. So the country has turned this problem, the problem of a lion attacking their cow and their food source, and now they've turned that into income generating. And they did an incredible job of that with the gorillas in Rwanda. And we also went in the film and went and hiked with the gorillas, and it's unbelievable what they've done with the gorilla populations. There was 200 in the 1980s, 220, and now there's over 1,000. And the people that took us on our gorilla trek to meet the gorillas, their fathers and grandfathers were poachers, and they would make a lot of money to chop off the hand of a gorilla and sell it as a good luck charm. And now those people are protecting the gorillas, and they're doing gorilla tourism, and all of that gorilla money goes to the community. So if you go, it's expensive to tour the gorillas. It costs $500. So 10% of that goes to the community, and there's hundreds of tours a day. So the community is making money for their schools, for their hospitals, for their medicine, and that's all because of this gorilla tourism. So the culture that was fighting against the gorillas is now fighting for the gorillas. Everybody's winning. The people are winning. The gorillas are winning. The habitat is winning. Because don't forget, when you protect an area for a gorilla, the gorilla is not the only one that lives there. It's the insects. Nobody cares about insects, but we have, important insects that do a big job for the community. They feed the birds. It's the birds that live there. It's the other animals that live there. We have forest elephants that you probably never heard of. There's elephants that live in the forest. So this is, when you help one iconic animal, you're helping thousands and thousands of plant and animal species that live in that same ecosystem.
Yeah, Matt, I actually did have a couple questions, if you don't mind, on, I guess, just kind of the making of the film. Like, how long did it take to get everything put together, to figure out even a timeline of where to shoot and when, and then even after you got everything put together, how do you figure out where to start, basically?
Documentaries are, all very different. We've all seen like the bio documentaries on different celebrities and all of that. That's very different because you're working, a lot of times you're working off a book or some sort of previous IP. With this particular documentary, it was just my client and from American Humane just saying, I went to Rwanda. We want to tell this story. So we started with that in mind, the story of Rwanda. But then you have to think about, like, we can't just tell the same story. We can't just talk about 12 different national parks that have been revitalized because that's boring. So we want to tell different stories of rewilding. And so in our research, we started to say, wait a minute, this is really interesting, like what's happening in Australia. In Australia, rewilding is removing species. The Europeans, when they came to Australia, they brought their cats and they decided, we want to bring rabbits because we can, eat them. So all of a sudden the rabbit populations are out of control. So then they were like, well, let's bring foxes. That's a smart idea because foxes will eat the rabbits. Foxes, like every other animal, they're lazy. They don't want to chase rabbits. They want to just get the little marsupials that are just sitting and hiding in the bushes. So foxes and cats destroyed the local populations of animals in Iconic because we don't have marsupials anywhere else in the world. And so for rewilding in Australia with the zoos and aquariums there, put a huge effort into is getting these animals. How do you get foxes out of an entire continent? They're all over the place. It's impossible. So what they're doing is islands. They're doing one island at a time, getting the foxes out of these small islands and then making those islands a hot spot. So then we're like, okay, that's a good story to tell. So how do we connect these stories and weave them together? What other stories can we tell to complement this? And we all love our new electric cars, and we all love, but those batteries come from mining, and mining in natives don't work well together, and mining is obviously not good for the environment and animals. So how do we tell that story? So how does this all weave together? We all want to be better people in a better place, but we're all going to Starbucks and getting the cup and throwing it out, and that cup comes from trees and the tree was cut down. So how can we live in a sustainable way but also enjoy our lives and our lifestyles and tell that in a movie?
Yeah.
And it
turned out great. And yeah, I was going to ask, like, okay, you got Meryl Streep for this one, you got Helen Mirren for the first one. How do you go about getting them? Like, what's the process of that?
Well, I think, luckily, celebrities and movie stars and stuff obviously have a soft spot for the environment. So I think we're already starting off with something that's near and dear to their hearts, and it's just about finding the right people. And Helen Mirren, as I was coming up in the business, I actually worked on like a series of short films, and one of them Helen Mirren had directed. And she directed a short film with John Goodman, and it was like the series of shorts that Showtime was doing. So I had worked on that with her, and I worked very closely with her, and she was very nice. And I just sent her this letter through one of our producers, Brenda Bank, and I just said, I was a production assistant for you when you were directing your first film, and now I'm directing my first film. And I don't know what connected the dots, but she said yes, and we flew to Lake Tahoe and recorded her a week before everything shut down with the pandemic. So we got in just under the wire, and Meryl Streep was a very similar story. I'm friends with her agent, and I have asked for things over the years from his different clients, and he's always very nice and responds, and usually the answer is no. And this time he said, yeah, I think she might be into this. And I couldn't believe it. And, we were all jumping up and down because that was a huge get to get somebody like Meryl Streep involved. And she really does care about the environment and does a lot of stuff, as does Helen Mirren.
All right. Terrific stuff, Matthew. Really enjoyed the film. Good luck with it. Escape from Extinction, Rewilding. There it is. Escape from Extinction, Rewilding. Matt Brady, an excellent film. You did a terrific job on this, and everybody should go out there and see it just as soon as you can.
Thank you. It's playing. It's playing at the Angelica in Dallas, down there, but it's listed on Fandango and Movie Phone. It's playing in a lot of theaters, all 100 cities in the United States, starting the 27th of September, and then of course we'll be streaming for those that are listening after.
Here he is, Matthew Brady, and this is your Dark Companion. Thanks for watching.
All right. I'm going to go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.